Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to be sharing with you my November financial reset and also going over with you my October financial overview. I will be breaking down my categories of spending in the month of October and also sharing with you my income versus my expenses. If you are new here, hi, my name is Sydney. I am 28 years old and I'm sharing my journey in real time of navigating how to budget while also paying down debt and working towards financial freedom. I live in rural Montana with my partner and my dog, and I work a full-time 9-to-5 job as an HR generalist in the tech industry, and I work remotely from home. Now, just to give you a little bit of context about my financial situation at this time, me and my fiance keep our personal finances completely separate. We do not have any joint or shared bank account. However, we do split our household expenses, which include our rent, utilities, groceries, and any other expenses or items that would fall under our household spending category. Although my fiance and I keep our personal finances separate, we are completely on the same page with focusing and prioritizing rebuilding our personal finances. A major goal for both of us this year was to pay off our credit card debt, which we have accomplished. I paid off a little over $6,500 of credit card debt starting from the beginning of this year to the end of September, which I am so relieved to no longer have to stress about my credit card debt and to be able to put that money now towards my student loans. So right now in this chapter, my fiance and I are really prioritizing making better financial choices, paying down debt, and paying off our student loans while also saving and focusing on setting ourselves up to have a more successful financial future. Before we get started, I just want to share that I am using Origin Financial to go over my October financial spending with you. If you are not familiar with Origin Financial, it is a financial platform and app that allows you to track your investments, spending, and net worth all in one place. They also have an AI financial advisor, and I came across Origin Financial when I was actually scrolling on Instagram, and I guess it just knew at the time that I was exploring different ways of budgeting. Origin Financial popped up, and I had been wanting to try it for a while, but I wasn't ready to make the investment because I didn't know if I would like it. But I saw that they had a $1 annual subscription for a year to try it out, and so I decided to take advantage of the offer. And so that is why I'm using Origin Financial right now. I do like it so far, but it's only been 2 months since I have used it. So I will do a review of Origin Financial probably at the 3 to 6 month mark. I'm not sure. I do want to give it myself enough time to fully use Origin Financial and explore if I like it and if I do feel it is worth the $99 annual investment. But so far, it does seem really easy and user friendly. And so let's go ahead and take a look at my income for the month of October. As you can see within Origin Financial, we are in the spending tab and I am on the breakdown and budget. That way I can go over with you my October spending. And let's first take a look at my total income for the month of October. Now, it is saying that my total income for this month was $4,489. However, we can see that my paycheck was actually $4,091, which is accurate. For some reason, it counts reimbursements within your earnings or your income. So I have to play around with this and see if I can categorize it in some other way because I don't really like reimbursements showing up in my income category because it's not necessarily money that I earned. This $397 reimbursement here is actually a Venmo transaction for when my fiance Venmoed me his half of the rent. So that is one thing that comes across kind of weird or not accurate, is that this reimbursement is not technically income. But my total income from my 9-to-5 job is $4,091. And then I earned $1 of interest from banking with SoFi and also, I guess, having money directly deposited into my checking account. Now let's go ahead and take a look at my budget. To be honest, my budget is set at $4,000. However, I did not exactly set this. I selected for the AI financial advisor to set my budget based on connecting my bank account and the AI advisor examining my past spending habits over the past year. So that is what it came up with, was $4,000 as my monthly budget. And I just decided to go with that at the time of setting this up. This is kind of fine right now. I don't see the need to really change it because Origin Financial does not do zero-based budgeting. I still use my zero-based budget spreadsheet. As you might know, if you've seen my other payday routines, we are going to go in here later at the end and set up my budget for my next paycheck. However, I do use Origin Financial to track my month-over-month spending because I want a place to see what are my categories of spending each month, and for it to be a little bit more streamlined and automated rather than me having to do it in a spreadsheet. I like the zero-based budget spreadsheet for budgeting out each of my paychecks. However, in order to track my expenses and finances over time and over the year-long period, I would prefer to use a platform that is a little bit more modern, streamlined, and automated, such as Origin Financial. Now, I want to point out that in the right-hand panel, you can see my cash flow right here, and it is showing that my total income was $4,488.50, and then my total expenses added up to $3,770.28. And then my net cash flow was $718.22. Starting off with our first category, household. In my household budget, I spent $910 for the month of October, and that was on my Starlink internet, which is $120, and then $789.67 for my rent and my utilities. Now remember, this is split with my partner, so it comes out of my bank account, but then he Venmos me his share of the rent and utilities. Moving on to auto and transportation. Now, this month was especially high because I traveled to California to visit my family, and I did drive from Montana to California. So as you can imagine, it is 20 hours one way from Montana to California, and then 20 hours from California back to Montana. So I spent quite a bit of money in gas, in transportation, because I drove there, and gas added up quite quickly, especially because it was way more expensive in like Utah, Arizona, and Nevada, and even California. So majority of this was all like gas that I spent money on. The total came out to $792 on auto and transportation. Like I said, a lot of this was gas. Because I stopped at the gas station at times for snacks and food, I would say a small portion of this might be food and snacks. Some of these more one-off things where it's like $5.40, $3.69, $5.49. These were likely just food and snacks, but because I bought at the gas station, it's categorizing it in the transportation category, which I could change to food and dining, but I'm just going to leave it here for right now. And then we have my car loan, which was $329.09. I'm not sure why it said canceled withdraw. It did tell me that the withdrawal was canceled, but I did pay it. So that was something that happened, is that it didn't go through right away, and then I had to process it again. So I did make my payment. And then I did have to get my car serviced when I got to California. And even when I got back, I had to get my oil and filter changed. So that was the $74.72 that I spent on changing my oil and filter in California when I got there. Excuse me, I actually did not get an oil and filter change when I returned from Montana. When I returned to Montana, I am actually planning to do that. For my groceries, this was also especially high because I did grocery shopping in California, which groceries are a lot more expensive there, but I did stay with my mom for 2 weeks in California, and I did do grocery shopping there. Plus, I just ended up having a lot more one-off grocery shopping items, given that I was traveling and I just was not in my regular routine, which is why my grocery category was so high for the month of October, spending $557. And I also eat particular things, so I did have to grocery shop and buy certain things that I wanted when I was in California. I also absolutely love shopping at H Mart, which is what I got which is where I went shopping when I was in California. I was kind of just enjoying myself, trying new things, getting food items as well that I normally wouldn't buy since I live in Montana and we don't always have access to a lot of diverse food options. For my other category, I had $394 spent in my others or miscellaneous category. I ended up going to FedEx and copying baby photos that I wanted from my mom's house because I just wanted to have some photos on hand that I don't have. So I copied those, but honestly, making copies of photos was quite expensive. It was 55 cents per photocopy. And as you can imagine, that added up so quickly. I think I had maybe had like over 20 photos that I wanted to copy. And then I had to pay for my taxes. I paid my CPA for completing my 2024 tax return. I ended up having to do an extension on my taxes because I had a CPA who did my business taxes for the year of 2024. She finally completed them. Also, side note, I've never had a great experience with a CPA. I have always found that they take so long to complete business taxes, and I have had 2 or 3 different CPAs before that I have worked with. And in my experience, they've all kind of been the same, where they don't really keep you in the loop and you have to continuously follow up to make sure your taxes are actually getting done. Anyways, small tangent there. I had to pay $760 for the completion and filing of my taxes by my CPA. That was her fee. And luckily, I did not owe any taxes back because my business was actually in the negative. That's a story for another time. But I ended up splitting my payment into 2 payments, $380, which I paid in October. And I was actually supposed to be charged on October 31st. Another side tangent is that my CPA said, okay, I will charge you on the 15th and the 31st. And I'm like, cool, great. And she didn't charge me on the 31st. I've been trying to call her and have her process my payment for the $380 that I still owe remaining of the $760. And I can't seem to get a hold of her. So I'm just like, what the heck? Like, I'm trying to pay you. I also don't like the fact that I'm having to track my CPA down to make my service payment. But yeah, I guess I will be trying again this week to call her and complete my payment. That completes my spending for miscellaneous. And then for healthcare, I had to pay for physical therapy, $120. Then I got a supplement for my digestion, which was $35. And then I also get this other natural supplement, which is $122, but it's for a 3-month supply. So essentially, it's like $30 a month. And so I pay 3 months in advance, and they send me the product for 3 month for the 3-month subscription. Next is dining and drinking. This category was also higher than normal. If you have watched my past payday routines, you would know that I hardly go out to eat or drink, and I typically stick to a very tight budget of not eating out, typically not drinking. And so this was especially high because I was traveling for 2 weeks in California. That is why I spent $253 on dining and eating out. Now, I had budgeted some of this money because I knew I wanted to enjoy myself. I was also going to be on the road, which means there's not always the convenience of being able to cook. And so, of course, I spent money at Starbucks getting coffee. I also ate out at different restaurants while I was in California, enjoyed some bakeries. And so, this is spending on food and kind of splurging to eat out and enjoy company with my friends and family. The next category is shopping. I did do a little bit of shopping while I was on vacation visiting family. I spent $142. Apple, this is actually my subscription, so this actually needs to be changed to my subscription for that $199. Let's go ahead and move that over to my subscriptions. And anything else? Okay, the rest is spent on shopping. So I did make an Amazon purchase. I went to Miniso, which is a Japanese store that I really enjoy, and I don't have that here in Montana. I got a few items there. And then, oh, I have another Apple charge. Strange. Huh. I'll have to go back and look at that. Typically, I only pay storage for Apple, but let's go ahead and move that to subscription as well. And then I also went to Daiso. Now for travel and vacation, while I was on the road, I did spend one night going there and back at a hotel because, like I said, it's a 20-hour drive each way. I paid for a hotel in Salt Lake City, Utah, both times. So, yeah, this is what I paid for the hotels. Oh, wait, actually, going there, I stayed in two hotels, but my fiance paid for one of the nights that I stayed, and then the second night when I stayed in Vegas, I spent $66.97 on a hostel shared room, which actually I'm trying to get reimbursed because I paid for a single standard room, and when I got there, the front desk receptionist was trying to tell me that I paid for a shared hostel, which I really did not. I remember looking at my receipt and seeing that it was a standard room and showing the receptionist, and she was still saying, no, it's showing on our end you're in a hostel room, like a shared room with women. So I ended up staying in a shared room, which was fine. I actually enjoyed my time meeting other women, talking to them, and it was actually kind of fun. But I did not enjoy the fact that I paid more than what I should have because a standard share essentially I paid a higher price to stay in a shared room when the standard room was $66.97, but the people I stayed with ended up only paying like $40 a night for the shared room. So I am actually going to follow up with my bank on that because I wanted to complain and see if I could get a reimbursement on that. I already tried calling Priceline through which I booked the hotel stay, and they didn't do anything about it. All they said that they were going to do was give me a 10% off discount on my next hotel purchase, which I wasn't really satisfied with because I don't plan on staying in a hotel anytime soon, and it also had to be used by the end of November. So I'm still going to follow up with my bank and see if they will reimburse me for this expense because it wasn't what I paid for. And then here is my hotel stay. When I stayed in Salt Lake City, Utah, I stayed in a room for $53.88. The room was a bit sketchy and the hotel, not gonna lie, but I was on a budget, so I was really happy to be able to book these rooms for under $100. The next category is financial, and this is actually my car insurance. So I do want to move this category to car insurance because it's not financial. So this actually brings up my auto and transportation expenses. We can see that auto and transportation was $909, which just seems insane and crazy. But we have my oil and filter change here, we have my car insurance, my car payment, plus the amount that I spent on gas. And some of this, like a small portion of it, is food at the gas station from when I was traveling. Next category is childcare and education. I don't know why it's put together like that, but it is. I know I can separate it. I just decided to leave it and it doesn't bother me. But anyways, I spent $58 towards my student loans. That is what I paid in the month of October. And then my next category is my phone. I ended up spending $53.03 on my phone bill in October because I had used all of my data when using Google Maps to drive to California. While I was there in California, I did a lot of driving and visiting friends and going places, and I needed more data, so I upped my plan to the prepaid unlimited package so that I had unlimited data while I was there. I have now reduced it back down to 15 gigabytes of data, which is $41.10. And prior to that, I have been paying $31.10 since I started my phone plan with AT&T last year, and that is unlimited everything, but only 5 gigabytes of data. So I might go back down to that plan because I technically don't need 15 gigabytes of data since I pretty much work from home and I'm home all the time. But since I have been driving to my physical therapy sessions once a week, I I don't know, I just kind of felt like keeping the data for navigation and just having a little bit more data. So I might bump that back down. But for right now, we are no longer paying $50 for data. We are back down to $41.10. And then for my Mandarin tutoring, as always, this is $50.40 that I pay monthly for one tutoring session per week. For entertainment, I do pay for Netflix and Spotify. Actually, so I spent a total of $20 on entertainment for the month of October, but I just canceled my Spotify membership because I don't want to be spending $12 essentially a month for music, and I might get rid of my Netflix. I resubscribed to Netflix I think a month ago in September because there was a show I wanted to watch. And I'm thinking about ending my subscription again and just sticking with a platform where I can watch my Chinese shows for free. So that way I'm not spending $8 and together I would be saving like 20 bucks a month, which is actually a lot over the course of a year. And my last category of spending is subscriptions. Actually, I guess entertainment subscriptions. I mean, Netflix and Spotify are subscriptions. So they technically could have gone under this category. But it's showing my subscriptions as $5 for the month of October. And typically I pay $2.99, I believe, for storage. Apple storage. So I'm not sure why I was charged twice. This is my typical subscription. I'm not sure what I subscribed to for $1.99. I will have to go back and look at that. So as you can see, that wraps up all of my spending for the month of October. I spent a total of $3,770 in the month of October. And we can see my largest transactions being paying for my taxes, which was $380, my car payment for $329. Again, I did make that payment, even though it was like canceled at first, but then I made sure to make the payment. And then everything else was mostly food, supplements, healthcare, and my most frequent expenses was Starbucks, Costco, and H Mart. I did visit H Mart quite a bit when I was in California. It is my favorite grocery store. I just love H Mart because I really enjoy Korean food, Chinese food, Japanese food. And then Costco, of course, because I always get gas at Costco when I can and anytime I need to fill up, as well as doing the majority of my grocery shopping at Costco. And then when I am going to get coffee, I do like Starbucks because I like the app and the fact that I can get points, even though it's part of their marketing and that is how they get you to spend more money there. I mean, it works. I like the fact that I can load money onto the app, pay through the app, and then I eventually earn enough points or stars to then get a free beverage or a free breakfast item. So if I'm going to get coffee out, I do prefer to go to Starbucks because in a way I am saving money by earning that free food item. That wraps up my entire... Oh, wait, I do want to share that for some reason I have to go into my total transactions in order to share with you my retirement and my credit card payment. So credit card payment and retirement payments are categorized under transfers, which do not show up in your total budget and spending. Origin Financials just hides it under your transactions. So I want to share with you how much I paid in my credit card payment for October. And I made my last and final credit card payment in October. It processed October 2nd, but I paid $528 towards my credit card payment. In October, it was like essentially my last paycheck in September, which went towards my last credit card payment, but which processed in October. And then for Oh, and as you can see, it shows transfers are always hidden from spending. I'm not sure why. For my retirement accounts, I ended up putting a total of $40 on October 10th and October 24th. I put $40 into my Roth IRA account, and that is pretty much it. Okay, let's quickly plan and budget out my November 15th paycheck. So as you know, I use a zero-based budget spreadsheet to budget out each of my paychecks. I do not budget an entire month out in advance just because things can change weekly to daily when you're budgeting, but I do try to plan what I'm going to do with my dollars in advance of my paycheck. So I know for my November 15th paycheck that I'm going to have to make my car insurance payment, which has been $117.17 recently. To be honest, I'm terrible. I still have not looked into why that went up. Also, this went up prior to my speeding ticket, so I heard that your insurance goes up when you get a speeding ticket, so I'm also going to have to look into that. Maybe end up having to shop around. Then I have to pay my $120 internet payment, my phone payment, which will be $41.10. And then for groceries, I'm going to budget $200 for groceries, but I normally split this with my fiance, so I do typically come in under $200. Then for gas and transportation, I'm going to budget $60 because of driving to my physical therapy appointments. Now for my medical and health category, I am budgeting $320 because I'm still going to physical therapy once a week. Moving on to student loan payments, we'll come back to this after we budget everything else out. $20 towards my investments. Dining out, I don't plan to dine out. I don't foresee having to dine out really. So I'm not budgeting any money to dine out. For shopping, okay. I do know that in the month of November, I will be spending money because of Black Friday, but mainly because I would need to finish taking advantage of my wellness stipend that my company offers. I get a $700 or maybe it's $650. A $650 wellness stipend from my company to spend on anything related to health and wellness. I have not used that yet. If you don't use it, you pretty much lose it and it resets in the new year. So I want to take advantage of getting essentially that full $650 in my paycheck reimbursed to me. So I have to spend that on something. I do have some workout equipment I want to buy, and I do want to buy that during the Black Friday sale because I also might get some other things. So I know that will be coming up in the month of November, and that $650 I want to put towards my student loans. So there will be money spent shopping, but probably not this paycheck because I'm waiting for the Black Friday deals, which aren't until Thanksgiving time, right? I don't know because I don't typically Black Friday shop, but I will be this year. And so I guess for shopping at this point in time, I cannot think of what I would be buying in this upcoming paycheck. So shopping, zero. Clothing, zero. I'm really trying to think, like, what are my expenses right now? Because it just feels like I'm not spending a lot of money, which is a good thing. I do have $50 already set to be dispersed into my emergency savings fund once my direct deposit hits my account. I will also be putting $100 into my China 2026 fund because I plan to travel to China next year. For my car, I actually do want to add a little bit more money here into my car because I'm coming up on 100,000 miles on my car and I do want to plan for maintenance on that. So I think I will budget another $40 towards car maintenance just because I want to continue to take really good care of my Subaru Outback so that it lasts me a really long time. For gifts, I think I will budget $50 for Christmas gifts. To be honest, I don't buy for anyone except my fiance. So I think as of right now, I would like to see this $927.08 go towards my student loan payment. But we will see as I do my next payday routine. So if you are not subscribed yet, don't forget to like and subscribe. Even hit the notification bell so you don't miss a single of my uploads. And you can see how I budget out my actual paycheck come November 15th. So that is my budget for the month of November. And yeah, I don't see too many things changing. If anything, October was kind of a crazy month with spending because I just kind of decided to take a spontaneous trip to California to visit my family because I was missing them. That turned into a lot of spending that was unplanned in a way. Like I did budget it out, but it wasn't money that I had really wanted to put in those categories of eating out, shopping, groceries. I would have preferred to put that money towards my student loans, but sometimes, you know what? Life happens and I just need to go back and visit my family. And so now that I finished paying off my credit card, I really, really need to focus on paying down my student loans because it really kills me every time I see the interest accumulate. When I contacted my student loan servicer, they were telling me essentially, I think I am paying about $220 to $250 in interest a month. Like that's how much interest is accumulating on my student loan total each month. Obviously, I have to be paying way more than the interest to be making a dent in my student loans. So, hopefully, going into November and into December, as things slow down, the weather is now going to get really cold. It's already really cold here in Montana, but it's going to start snowing. I'm not going to want to leave my house anymore because I pretty much hibernate in the winter here in Montana, which means I actually cut back on going out and spending and stuff like that. Not that I was doing a ton of that beforehand because I'm on a tight budget, but even still, like my budget should be going more back to normal into November and December, aside from a little bit of holiday spending, which I don't plan to do much because I am only buying gifts for my fiance. And then I have to take advantage of my wellness stipend so that I can get reimbursed for that and put that money towards my student loans. I know this was kind of long, but thank you so much for hanging in there and watching my October financial review and my November financial reset. I hope you found this helpful. Don't forget to comment down below any questions you may have, any comments you have. I love reading your questions and comments. Also, feel free to share any budgeting tips or hacks that you have, and I will see you in the next video.